With many countries around the world, President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed the celebration organised by Trade Union Federation Cosatu in KZN. A rival federation, SADTU, marched to the Durban City Hall. The biggest union under the umbrella of SADTU, the National Union of Metalworkers of South Africa, NUMSA, says its political arm is ready to contest the polls. You'll recall that NUMSA was expelled by Cosatu in 2014. It no longer supports the ANC in elections. Its political wing, the Socialist Revolutionary Workers Party, or SRWP, was launched last year. Meanwhile, the Federation of Unions of South Africa commemorating Workers' Day with events in Mthatha and Johannesburg. So basically, South Africa has various federations, these umbrella bodies representing various unions. We're going to speak to some of those federation leaders right now. We're joined via Skype from Durban by SAFTU Secretary General Zwelinzima Vavi. In studio with me, the chair of Cosatu in Gauteng, Amos, Monyela, and FEDUSA President Godfrey Selematsela. Welcome to you all, gentlemen. Zwelinzima, I'd like to start with you. Good evening. I'd like to start with you and clarify some confusion. An SABC reporter was in Durban today, and apparently you took to the podium. Thereafter, somebody got up and started campaigning for this new party, the Socialist Revolutionary Workers Party. Then there were conflicting messages. Somebody from NUMSA in Kwazulu-Natal, the regional secretary, said that SAFTU, you representing the umbrella body, SAFTU is behind this party, but you say differently. So my first question is, do you or do you not support the launch of this party by NUMSA, the Social Revolutionary Workers Party?
Thank you very much for having us tonight, and congratulations to all workers who occupy the streets in South Africa and everywhere else in the world. It's a very important day for workers everywhere. Coming back to your question, SAFTU announced from its inception that it is going to be guided by 9 principles. The biggest of them all is that SAFTU will at all given times be an independent, democratic and campaigning federation. It will be a federation that is fighting against corruption, that is striving for self-sufficiency. It will be a socialist orientated. It will be internationalist. It is going to be against all forms of discrimination, be they based on gender, race, and or the origins of workers, based on the countries of origin, rather. And we remain very firm behind those principles. We have not discussed, and let me say this again, SAFTU have had no discussion to say we are supporting or we are not supporting this or that political party, except to make the message that after 25 years, it is very clear to every worker that to continue the loyalty against the ruling party in the face of the fact that unemployment has grown even worse in the first 25 years of democracy, poverty, inequality, corruption, and the neglect at the levels of public health, public education. The crime has gone out of hand, with us having 57 people dying a day as a result of violent crimes. And we're urging workers not to continue to vote for their worst political butchers.
All right, I get that. Then why aren't you supporting this party, the SRWP?
Because we have not had a discussion. We have not found an opportunity to have a discussion about supporting or not supporting the SRWP.
So whoever
can make...
If NUMSA, if NUMSA, which is your biggest union member, is using events to campaign for its political party, if this is an important thing for NUMSA, and SAFTU and NUMSA haven't even sat down to discuss this, does that tell us anything about unity within your organization?
The issue of a SRWP speaking after the main speaker of SAFTU in KwaZulu-Natal caught me with surprise. I didn't know that that's what was going to happen, and I was taken aback, to be frank with you. And it's an issue that we're going to certainly discuss with the leadership of SAFTU in KwaZulu-Natal, because indeed, when that happens, a message gets sent that a platform of SAFTU can be used to campaign for a particular political party against the standing policies of the Federation. So we will have to have a discussion about that matter with the leadership of the province. But having said that, it doesn't also mean that SAFTU, therefore, through stealth and through the back door, suddenly support the SRWP without a discussion internally. That was a misfortune that happened today, and it will be corrected within the structures of the Federation.
All right. Thank you for being honest with us. So let's move to workers' issues. Mr. Monyela, let's pick up on what Mr. Vavi said earlier, that the ANC has portrayed workers. And because there are these different federations, Cosatu obviously still behind the ANC, but others saying this isn't the government for workers.
Well, good evening to you as well as your listeners. I was just listening to Zwelinzima Vavi and I said, oh, there he comes again in a federation that is capitulating. So that's why he'll respond in a manner.
So you think all this is a sign of disunity?
Yeah, it's a sign of disunity. It's a sign of a federation that is capitulating. It's a sign of a federation that is dying. It's a sign of a federation that is a one union federation. So that's why you find themselves in this serious crisis they find themselves to be in. And we think they must come back to join the real workers in this country under Cosatu. And Zwelinzima Vavi must just resign from his position there, because he's not an option to workers. But in coming to the question that you've asked, we think much as we also have issues with the government of the day 25 years down the line. But then we think that government of the day also, there are many things that the government has achieved for workers. You look into the labor laws of this country, you look into the national minimum wage, which they are rejecting today, and they were propelling it when they were in Cosatu. You look into an array of issues. We are able to interact with the government of the day on the issues that are affecting workers. So we think that issues that have been achieved over, it's not doom and gloom like they are putting it. It's not necessarily.
So with good conscience, can you tell workers who want better conditions to go next Wednesday and vote for the ANC?
You see, I'm wearing a T-shirt that says Cosatu says vote ANC. Confidently so, workers of this country, there is no any other party that can advance the struggles of the working class other than the African National Congress. We are saying members of SAFTU, members of FEDUSA, everybody, if there is an organization that they need to go and vote for, they go and vote for the African National Congress. They can go afterwards and participate in their organization. There's nothing wrong about it. Even Mr. Vavi himself, he must go there and vote for the African National Congress, because it is an organization that is going to liberate, has liberated us, and going forward with the work that President Cyril Ramaphosa has done over a period of...
So Mr. Selematsela, you're not part of this history. You're not backing the ANC. You're not like NUMSA behind a new socialist party. What is your message to workers ahead of the polls? Because I'm sure that was a burning issue today, so close to the elections.
Thank you very much. Let me first greet your listeners out there at home. Our position as FEDUSA is that FEDUSA is a non-aligned trade union, and therefore it is apolitical. Our message to our workers is that they must go out there and vote the party of their choice. We do not tell our members which party to vote, and for that reason they are free to exercise their own choice. Yes.
I think one of the concerns in the labour movement for years has been the disunity that we spoke about earlier. And you said you want NUMSA to come back to Cosatu. Is that serious? Because Cosatu's spokesperson has also been talking about these instances where NUMSA and NUM work together on ESCOM. Is there going to be some attempt to try and get NUMSA back in the fold?
Look, when Cosatu was established, we said one federation, one country, one industry, one union. So that's why we are saying all workers must come under one umbrella, under one federation, in order for us to be able to fight the struggles of workers together. This is a founding principle of Cosatu that Zwelinzima Vavi knows very well. He has been propelling it, but then he has decided out of something that it is known to South Africa to move away. He was expelled in the federation, but then as a principal leader, one believes that he will be propelling that workers will belong under one federation. So that has been our founding principle. We need all workers to be under one umbrella so that we are able to fight the struggles of workers together. We are better when we are united, and then we are.
But what are you doing actively to get NUMSA back? Is there anything being done actively?
It's not necessarily something that we have not even decided that we need NUMSA back, but then we need all workers back into even the members of FEDUSA, we need them into one federation. The members of SADTU, we need them under one federation based on our principles. So it must not be necessary that we need NUMSA back. We need all workers to be under one umbrella. There must be this kind of a discussion in order for us to be able to achieve our founding principle that says one country, one federation, one industry, one trade union. In that way, we will be united and we will be able to defeat some of the things that are meted to us by different employers.
All right, we're going to try to go back to Mr. Vavi. He's having difficulty hearing us. What do you think of that idea that there should be one federation? I'm here tonight speaking to three of you, and there are many more.
Look, let me be upfront in indicating that FEDUSA is driven by its mandatory structures. And from the point of FEDUSA, there was never a time that we've discussed the issue of one federation, one country. What I can assure you is that members of FEDUSA believes that as trade unions in the country, as trade union federation in the country, we need to work together with a quest to try and make sure that the interests of workers are actually achieved. And the unity that we see from a FEDUSA point of view is not necessarily that we must come under one umbrella. We must sit together around the table to discuss issues that affect the workers with a view that at the end of the day, the rights of workers would be protected. And that's our view.
Let's go back to Mr. Vavi in KwaZulu-Natal. I think you were hearing some of that, and you are welcome to respond to what Cosatu is saying, that SAFTU is capitulating this disunity as a sign. Or we can move this discussion forward and start asking, what are the burning issues in South Africa today for workers?
Well, let me say this. The political conscience, when it leaves the leadership of the federation or anyone, doesn't beat the drums and say, I'm leaving you now. The people who have capitulated to the dictates of capitalism are the people who are enjoying the silky sheets of the employers, the people who are enjoying the benefits of a ruling alliance that have completely failed the working class in this country, with the black working class now seeing an unemployment rate of 46%, with South Africa becoming the most unequal society in the world, with 55 to 67% of the population living in poverty, with South Africa becoming the most unequal society, and with crime out of hand, with collapsing public health, with collapsing public education. How could anybody in his right mind declare that as a success and then have a cheek to tell others of collapsing, whilst he is sitting in a completely unsustainable situation of an alliance, a class-based alliance, where clearly the steering wheel have been taken by the black bourgeoisie, driving it not towards any direction of radical economic transformation, but driving it into the direction of satisfying the dictates of the IMF, the World Bank, and the rating agencies. How can anybody...
Let Mr. Monyela respond to that, because this is, I guess, your chance to again justify why Cosatu, and there's been a lot of talk over the years, will Cosatu continue to back the ANC, or will it go it alone? Why are you here at this juncture?
Well, in response to Mr. Vavi, Cosatu, at its inception, was there to achieve the national democratic revolution. And we don't think that class has deserted us, because class has deserted them, because when workers were together, they decided to form another federation that was going to take workers away from the class on the basis that they needed.
But you expelled NUMSA, right?
No, we expelled NUMSA, we agree. But then we are now, agreeing that NUMSA has been expelled on the basis that they wanted to also run with their own political party. That's why today NUMSA has turned a trade union movement into a political party. So that political party is nothing but a NUMSA where its leaders will want to get into government in order to propel their personal interests. We want to agree on the basis of the statistics that Mr. Vavi is saying, and those are the things that we are fighting for. And Mr. Vavi will understand that all of these statistics are not necessarily something that it's covering all us in our country, but those are as a result of the neoliberal policies that indeed government has propelled. And Cosatu has always fought about the neoliberal policies. We're going to continue to fight against neoliberal policies. Anybody who wants to implement neoliberal policies at the expense of the workers, we're going to fight that particular person.
Okay, I think you've both had a chance to make your point strongly. I'd like to ask you
for neoliberal policies on the 8th of May.
Mr. Vavi, you've made your point, and I think if we don't move on, we'll stay stuck here. We get it. So there are these differing views. I'd like to ask you all, what are you doing? Because trade union federations and unions have been accused of being very inward-looking, worrying about workers, worrying about only workers' issues when we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the world. So let's start there, and then I'd also like you to answer, what have you done since Marikana, when workers were actually killed? How has your voice added to action in this country on that? Let's start with you.
Thank you very much. Let me indicate that from where we're sitting, that tragedy really was not good for our country. But obviously, we put up a program to educate our workers to understand that when there are issues, they need to follow the protocol that is intended to make sure that their unions or trade union federation is able to deal with those issues. So much that, if you will recall, we engaged government. There was quite a number of treaties that were actually signed. I remember 2 of them were signed in Pretoria, where we had discussions with the former president, given this issue at hand. So in a way, we were trying to make sure that we mitigate against what had led, to those miners being killed. Second to that, you would recall that in South Africa, as we speak, and the whole world, there's what we call 4th Industrial Revolution. So as FEDUSA, we are engaging with our colleagues and also government at NETLEC, so that we look at the question of managing the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Mr. Selematsela, I'm going to stop you just to hurry things along because we're running out of time. And I want to give you each a turn just to talk about very quickly these 2 issues, burning issues, unemployment and Marikana. Very quickly, Mr. Monyela.
Look, Cosatu has never been an inward-looking organization. We are fighting for socio-economic conditions of workers and non-workers. That's why we are calling ourselves, we are advancing the struggles of the working class and the poor. I think in terms of the issue of Marikana, we think, the Department of Labor is now vindicating us that when we have runaway leaders who will want to lead workers by themselves and allow them to butcher other workers, that's the crisis that we're going to have. So we're engaging with our members that they must not engage into issues which are going to make us to lose any life in the working place, because we need all workers to be under one umbrella and discuss issues going forward so that they are able to share the very same space together. So we have never been inward looking. Everybody will know that the socio-economic conditions, that's why we are even fighting the e-tolls today.
Mr. Vavi, you have the final word, but I ask you to please be brief.
The president of the ANC was so spot on when he spoke to big business this week, when he said that the first institution to be captured in the country was the ANC itself. The second one was Cosatu and the SACP. The Marikana massacre reflects the crisis of organization and politics inside the Federation Cosatu, in that workers on their own started to organize themselves and to move away from the sweetheart unions that are under Cosatu, to take up their own struggles in the Platinum Belt as well as in the Titwarens farm uprisings.
Mr. Monyela is saying you were in Cosatu at the time.
Learned the lessons.
You were in Cosatu at the time when Marikana was happening. You even failed to go and intervene there.
You know that comrade is too junior to even know what is happening in Cosatu. Let me tell you this, we made a proper assessment about why that strike took place and what needs to be done. Instead of them agreeing to do a proper introspection, they decided to dismiss 340,000 workers who were saying it is enough with the road that we are traveling because it is taking us deeper into unemployment and squalor. All of those who began to speak that truth, not only in NUMSA but in a range of other unions, all of those who began to fight against the corruption in SAMU, in SADTU, in Sipau, were shown the door.
Okay,
they destroyed
Mr. Vavi, I did ask you to be brief.
And now they are turning around to say they want unity. What unity?
Okay, I did ask you to be brief, and I'm sorry to shut this debate down. I wish we could continue because there are a lot of issues here. But I think we've aired a lot from these federations, and one thing we can say is clearly we're not going to have one union federation in South Africa for a while. But thank you for your participation tonight. SAFTU Secretary General Zwelinzima Vavi, Gauteng Cosatu Chair Amos Monyela, FEDUSA President Godfrey Selematsela. And it's over to Griselda with our colleague Tsepiso, a big interview coming up later.